Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Heart and Hustle podcast. I am genuinely excited to have this amazing individual here next to me, joining me in an opportunity for him to share his insight, his wisdom, his life journey, which I'd imagine is going to include stories of success, challenges, learning moments, all in hopes of being able to share with you all so that you can resonate, feel inspired, be reminded that everybody's journey is going to come with its ups and its downs. But as long as you keep moving forward, that's all you can really focus on and control. And so, without a further ado, let me give you the mic to introduce yourself. If you can share your name, if you can share a little bit about your background and anything else that you'd want the audience to become familiar before we start diving into the heavy hitting questions.
Most definitely, most definitely. My name is Zachery Young. I'm from Houston, Texas, originally, but I was raised out in Sacramento, in Del Paso Heights on the north side. Grew up in group homes and foster care pretty much majority of my life from what I'll say about 8 until 17. Um, shoot, hardworking
Mm-hmm.
black man trying to survive in this world and just keep the movement going. It's pretty much me in a nutshell. I know we're gonna get a lot more going on later on, so I don't want to just spill all the tea all at one time.
Yeah, and just to take a bit of a step back, I had the privilege and the honor of meeting Zach when he made a courageous decision to try to go from the EOP program from San Francisco State, which they spoke so highly about him, to our EOP program at Cal State University, which at the time I was the director of, and Zach was wanting to come over to fill one of our EOP counselor positions. And just to share with you, Zach, I know that right off the bat, when we entered that interview, I could tell that you were focused, you were determined, and beyond that, what I think I really appreciated with it was this level of sincerity that you entered the space with. And I think within interviews, and I'm sure you might even be able to share of your own experiences, at times it feels a bit performative, right? Like we feel like
Yeah,
we got to say the right thing, we got to dress a particular type of way. And although those are still common and potentially best practices, I do think we're moving into a time where there is more value in someone showing up as their most genuine self.
facts.
If you wouldn't mind sharing some insight, what was that experience like for you on the other end as you were trying to secure that spot within our EOP program at East Bay?
I would say for one, it was like I was a little nervous because I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to think like, okay, I love my squad, my team over there, and it's like I knew my yard so very well. Like I knew everybody on the campus. I knew who to go and talk to. I knew the movers and the shakers,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was like I was comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and everything. Like I graduated from San Francisco State
Mm-hmm.
and everything. What I'm saying, that's where I was made at my fraternity and everything else. So it's like it was so much familiarity over
Mm-hmm.
there. So then it was like, okay, if I come over here, are they gonna be cool? You know what I'm saying? Is it gonna be a cool squad? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm like, I used to go up to Hayward. Well, back then it was called Hayward, but now it's East Bay. So I used to go up there when my Sands was going to school there. You know what I'm saying? My Ace and my Deuce, they was from there. So I used to come to the yard a lot of times, but it's like I never really checked it out. It's like I always go to their room, their apartment, you know what I'm saying? I might chill up in the student union a little bit, but then it was always off to a party or something
Mm-hmm.
else. So I never really got to check out the campus.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came over there checking out the campus, I was like, oh, this is dope. But as
Mm-hmm.
far as that interview process, it was just a little nerve wracking because I was like, okay, like are they going to be trying to look for somebody who's already there on their campus and do like an internal? And it's like
Mm-hmm.
this is just like, oh, we just
Yeah.
going through the
Oh, yeah.
motions and everything else. So I wasn't really knowing. But when I got the call and they gave me the job and everything else, I was happy about it because like I live right over here in East Oakland, so that's a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Mm-hmm.
So it made it easy. I don't have to worry about all that traffic going over the bridge, and I don't have to worry about paying no toll. So save me a little coin. So
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. And just to give you even some insight or even walk down memory lane of that time period, whenever there's an interview process at an institution like Cal State East Bay, there is always some internal candidates who are also wanting to put their name in the hat for these
Mm-hmm.
roles. And
Mm-hmm.
so the fact that you were coming from the outside, although you were EOP from a different institution, I think it spoke volumes that you impressed us and you blew us away. Someone else who was in that interview experience, Roshan, shout out Roshan, who leads amazing work at Renaissance Scholars,
Oh
the Renaissance
yeah.
Scholars programs there at Cal State East Bay. And I remember that shortly after your interview ended, we got into a debriefing kind of process. And we're like, yo, this guy is perfect. Like, perfect for the students that we have on our campus, perfect for the culture that we have attempted to create within the student equity and success programs. And then I knew that on my end, as the director of EOP, I was like, this guy is going to help elevate our program the moment he gets here, because there's already the passion, there's already the commitment, and there's the understanding of what this program does for our first generation students who we know tend to be more vulnerable populations.
Facts.
And you being able to share your story, you being able to share your skill sets, I was like, yeah, can we hire him like yesterday? Like, how quickly can we make this happen while still having to go through the hoops of filling out the evaluation and everything, right? But it was pretty clear that even in the midst of there being other internal candidates, you stood out, right? And you've already given some insight as to some other layers of your identity using language like deuce and ace and yard. And so I'm excited to dive into that a little bit later. But staying on topic in regards to this work that you've been doing with programs such as EOP, it highlights you dedicating your career to serving historically marginalized communities. My question for you is, what fuels that passion? Was there a specific moment or experience that made you realize that this was the work that you were meant to do?
I think it's like it all started off with my foster parents. So I had two foster moms, Natalie and Gertha, and it's like being around them and just interacting with them changed my whole mindset because I wasn't even thinking about going to college. It's like
Mm,
all I was thinking about was just like, okay, let me just at least just graduate high school, get a job, make some money, and everything else. And it was like always on my helmet. They was like, nah, you're gonna go to college. You're gonna go to
mm,
college and everything. So it was like I was like, okay. So I was running track at the time. I played football and everything else. And it was like the I ended up getting accepted at San Francisco State for running track and everything. So that opened up that door. But it was like it was all about back then. Like once you graduate and you get emancipated. So I graduated at 17, and once you got emancipated out of the system, it's like you pretty much you're off the payroll and
mm-hmm,
everything else.
mm-hmm,
And I need to have a home. So it's like I was about to be on the street. Like my brother's name was locked up, my mom was locked up at that time.
mm,
So it's like I didn't have nowhere to go. But it's like I luckily got into summer bridge program at San Francisco State, and it was
mm,
like they had housing on campus. So by them having that housing, I was able to stay during the week, taking some classes, going through the summer bridge program. Every weekend, my foster parents broke me off a little bread. I was able to get on the Greyhound. I could smash back to SAC, hang out with them. Sunday, smash back out here to get back into the dorms, and was able to do that. So that's that love that they are showing me, and like all them social workers that was working at my church and everything else. At first, I wanted to do teaching,
mm,
but then it's like I just started like getting like little jobs, like working, you know what I'm saying, at doing like community service at a couple of group homes, working with youth, doing mentorship and everything else. So then it's like everything just started lining up. And it's like it reminded me of a quote by a lady by the name of Bertice Berry. She said, "When you walk with purpose, you collide with
mm,
destiny. When you
mhm,
collide with destiny, you find peace." And I was like finding like I was in my purpose of what I was supposed to be doing. So it's like I'm over here getting these jobs, working at these continuation schools or working
mhm,
at these group homes. And it's like the work that I was doing with them is like I could relate because I've been through so many group homes. You know what I'm saying? I've been through so many different foster homes. So I was like, I knew how that kid, how I felt as a
yeah.
kid, and which staff was cool, what they did with me that strike something in my head of thinking and like that I could achieve more or do more. So I was like, okay, let me reinvent the wheel, you know what I'm saying? And like emulate the same kind of things that they were doing, and also add my own little
Yep.
twist of stuff that I wish
Yep.
somebody else would have told me that they wasn't telling me. You know what I'm
Mhm,
saying? So I was giving them my insight, and it just kept on moving. It's like next thing you know, it's one job to another, and it's like somebody hit me up like, "Hey, I think you do good at this job. You should go
mhm,
apply." Me going applying and going through that whole rat race and making those moves, and it's just kept on going. And I started working at Edgewood Center for Children and Families. You know what I'm saying? I worked at Bethesda Home for Boys out there in Savannah, Georgia. I worked at a continuation school out in Richmond, and it was like so many different things that was going on that just opened it up for me. Shoot,
Mm-hmm.
I worked at Canyon Oaks Youth Center out there in San Mateo, so it's like all those different avenues just birthed me coming in, and it's like now I felt like I wanted to go and bridge that gap from just working in mental health to going also working in higher ed, because once these kids are done at these facilities, it's either you can kind of go into a trade school, or
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to go off to college, or you're going off to the military. So it's like, let me go and get lined up at some of these schools and get some information on who they need to talk to when they do get here. What type of resources do these universities or these community colleges have that might be able to benefit them, and be able to utilize that, and that changed the game. And so that helped me out so much more, to where I can go and talk to some folks at these different programs and let them know, like, hey, they got this program called Guardian Scholars, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, that works for foster youth, or they got this program called Renaissance Scholars
Mm-hmm.
that work with foster youth, and you can bring them in and they'll help them out. They get them services, wraparound services, that whole holistic
Mm-hmm.
type of counseling and everything. And like from there on, it's like it was like win a winning lottery ticket. I felt like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
Man, I appreciate you just naming the different places that you've worked at, because I think it says a lot about how much you really dive into the work, how much you pour into the students, the staff that you've probably had the chance to cross paths with, and how much pride you take in your presence being that of a positive presence in any and all places that you navigate. And believe me, like from the moment that Zach did join the team, kind of going back to him joining us there at East Bay, his passion, his dedication, his work ethic was so clear. And I'd imagine that all of those experiences just further develop just like your ability to know how to show up with
Mhm.
such intentionality, with such purpose. Because as you said, there's a level of destiny within like your journey that you just have to acknowledge and realize is happening in real time,
Facts.
right? Because you're walking with so much intention, you move with so much intention, and I think what I really appreciate, and forgive me if this is my perspective, but sometimes I think people go through certain experiences that they never want to be around, like those spaces, communities, like
Hmm.
that trauma,
Hmm.
right? Because they already had to live it. And so for you to take your experiences without wanting to make assumptions, but want to instead like be there for others who are going through similar things, I think that says a lot about you, because that's what I mean when I often mention the importance of like representation,
Hmm.
right? Yes, you can be book smart, but if you can combine that of book smart with real world firsthand experience, that's another level of connection that you can make with these young people. It's another level of connection that you can make, or at least paint a picture for the donors, because we know that's another part of this
Facts.
world, right? Or just whoever it is that we're having to convince that like this work is important, these kids are important, and we need to make sure that we have the right people doing this work on their behalf.
Hmm.
And so I am sure you've probably at this point of your life have received a lot of thank yous. And even maybe some students have yet to say thank you and will in the future. But I just want to take it upon myself, as I just heard everything that you said, and say just thank you. Like, thank you for caring so much. Thank you for within this world that it is so easy to focus on just oneself, that you've always had this like desire to be there for so many others.
Mm.
Because again, I personally think we need more of that in this world. And it was definitely an honor just having the chance to work alongside you during that time that we shared at EOP. Something that you mentioned, and I really appreciated your willingness, because I know that you talked a lot about it openly, professionally, and personally at East Bay, but I didn't want to just assume that in this podcast you were going to want to dive into these experiences. But you mentioned that of growing up in the foster care system.
Hmm.
And right, I think those stories aren't always told in a way that really represents that experience, whether it's in media, movies, and I think that's what makes it so important. If there are folks who went through that experience and are comfortable sharing, to do so, because I think there's someone out there that's watching that's maybe currently navigating that experience,
Hmm.
wondering what's going to happen to me in the future.
Hmm.
Um, and so, what I wanted to ask you, Zach, is your experience in the foster care system, I'd imagine, really shaped your perspective on that of like family and community. Can you talk about how those experiences have influenced the way that you navigate life and just like build relationships today?
Most definitely. I think the key that what I learned and where it was like that aha moment for me, it was like, so there was a point where my little brother used to be in the same foster home I was in, and it was like right after my 16th birthday and everything, and then like he ended up going back home, you know what I'm saying? So I'm over here thinking like, okay, oh, I'm good. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? I'm not out here stealing no more. I'm not doing no crimes. I'm not over here getting myself in trouble. I'm getting good grades. I'm an athlete. I play sports. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Oh, I'm next.
Yeah.
I'm up out of here.
Yeah.
So I just kept on like I started packing up my bags and everything, getting everything ready, thinking I'm gonna be out. And then it was like my social was like, nah, your mom said she not getting you.
Yeah.
And so it threw me off. I was like, what? What do you mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm doing good. Like I'm doing good now.
Mm-hmm.
I can
Mm-hmm.
understand like if I was still fucking up,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm doing good now. Like I'm going home. So it ticked me off to where it's like I didn't want to talk to her. You know what I'm saying? Not knowing why she did it. I didn't want to ask.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it was my foster parents that was constantly on me and on my helmet, like, nah, you only get one mom. You know what I'm saying? I know we all your foster moms, but you only get one biological mom. You know what I'm saying? You need to tap in with her, talk with her, and everything else. And it's like they never was trying to be like, no, you're ours. You know what I'm saying? And like, oh, distance yourself from that side of the family. They always wanted me to be able to go on home passes, visit my family and everything else. So it's like just peeping at how, you know what I'm saying, these two women was like willing to just like go out their way to make sure that I felt like part of their family and also still part of my own family. I had to just stop looking at it like I was always being combative to where it's like I didn't want to listen to him all the way
Mm-hmm.
and buy all the way in. But then I started looking at him like, oh, like, you know what? I remember one time my foster mom Gertha said, she said, you keep straddling that fence, your nuts gonna hurt. And I was like, I looked at her, I was like, what you talking about? And then I just like peeped, because I'm like, I'm a very visual
Mm-hmm.
person. So I was like, I peeped it. I'm like, oh shit, that shit is funny. And I was like, you know what? That's true. Cause I'm like, I already know what that other side is. I've
Mm-hmm.
done that long enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? All these years. So I was like, well, let me just try to see what they talking about and let me just follow their lead. And so I started following their lead, started talking back to my mom, you know what I'm saying, my family, you know what I'm saying, really getting in cool with the folks at the church and my foster cousins and foster brothers and everything else. And it's like it just started making me understand, like, damn, I'm over here fighting against everything. But if you just let it just flow and let it
Mm-hmm.
go, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, everything does start getting better. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I know I want to be home. I didn't want to be in a foster home. But it's like they wasn't over here beating me or doing anything wrong to me or telling me to do like, oh, I want you to commit a crime over here or do anything stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It was like all they're trying to do is trying to love me and give me everything that I need and educate me on something that I didn't have nobody else ever educate me about. Like I didn't have none of my friends or anybody that went to college. I didn't know nobody. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? I didn't have no my aunties or none of them. Like I'm the third child out of five. And I was the first one to graduate high school and college and go to grad school. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? So that tells you a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm the only one that never went to jail or prison out of all my family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I just really appreciate what my foster parents did for me and on changing my mindset and everything else and understanding like, I used to look at it like, oh man, you trying to hang around these squares or you know what I'm saying, kicking with these cats. But it's like they ain't nothing wrong. Cause like, shoot, all of them cats do the same thing you do. They be drinking, they be smoking, they be out there hollering at chicks and everything else. They be doing the same thing that you be doing, but they ain't getting themselves in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? Let me just start listening to them. And that's a lot of stuff that I tell a lot of the youth that I work with. I'm like, yes, I understand you're not in that ideal situation and you
Situation.
want to be around your family and everything. But when you got folks that really in your corner, you know what I'm saying, thick and thin, and like they're trying to work with you on your treatment plan. They over here when you're crying because you called a family member and they didn't want to talk to you, or
Mm-hmm.
they're not visiting you and it's your birthday and they didn't send you no gifts, or you know what I'm saying, or it's an anniversary of a tragic situation that happened and they ain't calling to check up on you, but you got these staff that are here checking up on you and being there for you, and then you want to try to tell them like, oh, you just here to get paid. No, you're like a lot of them, like, unless you in some high end place, like working
Mm-hmm.
for the county or something, that's the only time you're really gonna get paid. When you're doing all this nonprofit and all that, you ain't
Mm-hmm.
really getting paid. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Especially to be going through all the turmoil that you be going through, and all cats cussing you out, calling you niggas, bitches, hoes, like want to swing up on you and everything else. And you know damn well if you was on your block, you ain't going for that
Yeah.
bullshit. So
Yeah.
it's like, you know, like they ain't just here for a check. They here for a genuine adoptee love for you to see you succeed, you know what I'm saying, and make something of yourself. Like they already see enough of y'all who don't follow
Mm-hmm.
and don't want to learn and don't want to do it. And they see y'all go and be a part of the system in another one in the chain gang and all that other stuff and going to jail, prison and everything else. Let's break the cycle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think that's the answer. I know I went a little
No,
off on
no, you're
everything, but it's like
good.
I think that was the biggest thing about being in the system and like being around them. It's like they just made it to where it was comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? To where it's like I didn't feel like I was part. I didn't even feel like I was in foster care. It's like they was over there fighting for me to be able to go to people's houses and hang out without them having to get fingerprinted. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what I'm saying, being able to go on these trips with them when they'll go to Mississippi or Florida and all these other places that I was able to go with them and hang out, and I didn't have to be stuck back here or anything. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I really appreciated the way they fought for me and everything. So I think that's what made it to where me working in these fields and the work that I do, I give a lot of love and respect to Gertha and Nelly.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you being willing to paint such an in-depth picture of what that experience was like for you, and just the raw kind of insight and experiences and even vocabulary. I think makes it that much more real for anybody who's watching. And again, like I said, either is has had a similar experience, is currently living that experience, or has never been aware of what that experience could look like. So please continue to share as much as you like, as I think it's all insightful, helpful, and just a reminder for so many of us that different people have different journeys, and each of those journeys are unique, even within similar journeys, right? One foster care system experience could differ from a different foster care
Oh,
system's
facts,
experience,
facts.
right? Because I think in the media, even going back to the movie, if you remember this one, like Matilda, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not mistaken, I think she was like in some type of system and she got adopted by some like really evil people. And
Mm-hmm.
that tends to be like the story, right? Like
That's always
someone really
told. Yeah.
evil
Mm-hmm.
adopting the children. And I'd imagine though there's some maybe truth to
No,
that.
no, there's definitely some truth to that.
Right?
There's some places that I like because I had like when I was like the agency that I was a part of. It's like it's no longer around anymore. You know what I'm saying? God rest her soul.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Miss Mitchell, she passed. You know what I'm saying? Who ran the whole facility and everything else. Um, there was some kids that I knew that came from other homes before they got into her program,
mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? And they had those
Yeah.
experiences. And like I've been to some places that it was all bad, you know what I'm saying? Some
Mm-hmm.
group homes where it's like you fighting all the time, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Where staff will like use you as entertainment, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm,
they'll, you know what I'm saying, get you to fight another kid and everything else. And it's like
mm,
that's how it went down. But it
yeah.
was like you knew that was going to happen, so you thought that was a norm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You didn't even like think to be like, damn, this is some fucked up shit. Like
Yeah.
y'all over here got us fighting each other, and y'all just laughing about it. But
Mm-hmm.
y'all supposed to be here, like educating us,
Yeah.
protecting us, and making
Yep.
sure that we on the straight and narrow. I was like,
Yeah.
so like it really threw me off.
Yeah.
But that is something that they always just show the bad side. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you very rarely get to see the good side. But it's like, you know, I always say, you know what I'm saying, drama sells.
Yeah.
You know what
For
I'm saying?
sure.
Like why do I want to talk about a what was old boy that played for the Ravens? You know what I'm
Ah.
saying? Michael Orr, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying, telling
Yes.
his story, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, and
Mm-hmm.
everything else. Like they always somebody's gonna pick something. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
why did it have to be a white woman?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, that did
Yeah.
this and everything. But instead of like, damn, she took care of the cat, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying, all this
Mm-hmm.
other stuff. Like, why don't y'all talk about the positives
For
and
sure.
everything else? So like some of that always just be throwing me off, and I'm like, it always be like that, and everybody always got to think about the worst type of
Mm-hmm.
situations and everything else, and
Mm-hmm.
like how people always trying to get over all the checks that folks are going to be getting. Sometimes you're not even getting that much of a check for a lot of these kids that you bringing into their house, unless they really got
Mm,
some severe mental illness or something.
mm,
That's how it starts getting the check starts getting a little thicker and a little
yeah.
better. But still, you still got to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if If they over here shitting on themselves and splatting it all over the walls and everything, you got to go and clean that up and deal with all that, and you still trying to show that kid love and
Yeah.
everything else. And like folks don't even think about all that
Yeah.
part. You know what I'm saying? Kids, you get some kids that be cutting themselves and beating themselves up and everything. I used to work at a facility where a kid, when he got upset, he used to just tear his nose up. He would just be slamming it, bang, bang, bang.
Mm.
And I'm like, and he'd just be bleeding everywhere, leaking, and then he'll just like go and be splurting it
Wow.
everywhere. And it's like, but you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
Now it's all up on your clothes. Now you got to clean it all off. But it's like folks don't ever like to talk about that piece, like
Yeah.
you dealing with all that, or even the trauma of seeing somebody who trying to commit suicide
Mm-hmm.
or doing anything, like how that affects you. You see a kid trying to jump out into the street and
Mm.
to get hit by a car,
Mm-hmm.
and you over there trying to grab him, or them over here with a knife or something, and they acting like they're gonna cut themselves or something, and you trying to stop them, and you can almost get yourself injured.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
folks don't never even like try to think about all those different scenarios and everything, but this shit ain't no joke.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate you just giving that additional insight on us to what it looks like in real time to really be in it, right? Because I think there's a difference between imagining, envisioning, again, watching as a bystander versus being the one actually doing the work, which you've done so much of that. But to circle back and just highlight the fact that it seems like towards the tail end of your journey, you were able to be in a home with some really supportive individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, your story is one that I think a lot of folks would view as like non-traditional as it pertains to the concept of family, and how people define family. And so I was just wondering for you, how did these experiences contribute to you potentially redefining the concept of family or not?
For me, it just started like you really tie into that saying that all people always say, you know what I'm saying, when they always try to say blood is thicker than water and all this
Mm-hmm.
other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
or you can't, you know what I'm saying, you can always make new family,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, elsewhere and everything. So it's like I think that me looking at them and everything that they've done for me, you know, helped me to understand like don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you get into these avenues to where it's like it's so much about like me. Let me do this. You know, I got it out the mud. All this other
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But it's like sometimes you're gonna need like help from somebody, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times you are getting help from somebody, but you ain't trying to look at it that way because you just trying to think like, oh, I did it all on myself. I did it
Mm-hmm.
me. But
Mm-hmm.
like, but what about that cat who gave you that ride to go do X, Y, and Z, and
Mm-hmm.
then you was able to, you know what I'm saying, go secure this bag, or
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, get this
Mm-hmm.
job, or you know what I'm saying, you was able to go holler at this chick, or you know what I'm saying, different little things that you might ended up doing. So it's like I started this understanding, like, you know, just because they're not blood don't mean they ain't family. Because we always be looking at our homies, we like, oh man, that's my homie, that's
Mm-hmm.
my dog, my
Mm-hmm.
ace, my motherfucker. Like, and but like, so okay, so you can say these cats is family, but you can't try to say that these people over here that's trying
Mm-hmm.
to help you out as family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nah,
Mm-hmm.
it's all the same.
Yeah.
So it's like anybody who's over here got your back 100 grand, you know, and like trying to help you and want to see you do great things and not trying to look for like, okay, now you came up now, give me, because I
Mm-hmm.
helped you out with X, Y, and
Mm-hmm.
Z. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Like, that's that real love. That's that
Mm-hmm.
real family, and that like, and I appreciate that. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because like, shit, I got a lot of other family who knew about me and everything, ain't never called me or
Mm-hmm.
checked up on me or try to see what I was doing when I was locked up or anything. So it's like, why should I be like trying to hold them like, oh no, that's my family.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you ain't never been fam. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Don't try to be cool now. Like once you see everything's up, you know what I'm saying, everything's going good, or you see somebody doing something nice, you're like, oh, that's my cousin, or that's my brother, or that's my this. I'm
Yeah.
like, you never around.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you
Mm-hmm.
really talking about? But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, these ones right here, like they was there. You know what I'm saying? Like when a motherfucker was crying, when a motherfucker didn't have a dollar in his pocket, you know what I'm saying? Let me borrow this and I'll get it back to you. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm hungry, stomach growling. Give me some food. You know what I'm saying? Let you borrow some shoes because your shoes over here flopping and everything else. You know, like, and not even looking for like, hey man, I need something back. Oh no, you good.
Yeah.
Like those things like that, I learned so much from Nelly and Gertha, you know what I'm saying? That was like so beneficial. And then and all my like cousins, you know what I'm saying, and her nieces and nephews and all that that I looked at as like aunties and other cousins and everything else. Like it was like I'm telling you, it's like that was the best thing shit for me. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it just
Mm-hmm.
really helped me to see that like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not knocking my family or anything like
Yeah.
that. Like I love my family, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But when you be away from them for so long and you just see them sporadically, it's like you miss out on that bond.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I build more of a bond over here, but it's like I still got mad love for my biological
Mm-hmm.
family and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still hang out with them. I still try to hang out and do things. You know what I'm saying? Still try to call them up, check up on them and everything else. But it's like you're still missing a lot of shit. Like they'll tell you stories and you be like, oh, I don't even remember that. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? They'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
of course you don't remember because you wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I think I remember one time my little brother was living with me here for a minute when he got out. And and I was just like tripping out one day and I was like, damn, blood. I'm like, this is the most time we spent together around each other in the last like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, because he was locked up so many different times. So it's like he'll come out, then he's right back in, and then I'm like, I'm off to school, I'm going off over here, then I was off in Georgia. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you miss all these times and these big ass gaps. You know what I'm saying? But just like just being around and seeing him in the house with me and talking with him and everything else, I'm like, bro, the last time we had that, I was like 7, 8 years old,
Mm-hmm.
seeing you around and just hanging out with you. And then again, there was that next time when I was like 16, you know what I'm saying, and you was in the foster home with me, but that was only for like a good like what, 2, 3 months, you know what I'm saying? And then he was gone again. And so like it floored me for a minute there. I was just like really tripping out on that. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
Yeah.
Because he stayed with me for like a good like 5, 6 months, you know what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
before he went and got his own crib. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like I really appreciated that time. It was like just getting to catch up with him, hearing some of
Mm-hmm.
his stories,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? And like even him talking about the stuff that he went through in the pen and all that, and just like his kids and you know what I'm saying, the different things that he wanted to do now and change up and everything else. So it's like I just love everything he's doing right now. He's really handling his business, you know
Mm.
what I'm saying, taking care of his daughter and everything else. So it's like, man, nothing but salute. Salute to you,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, that's beautiful. And I think, what I'm hearing you say with that last story is that you could be related in this very beautiful, powerful way, such as a blood brother, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, because of life circumstances, come to realize so much later in life that there's so much you don't know about each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until you're given the opportunity to spend consistent time, day to day, week to week, to really dive deep into like what did you go through during those years that I didn't get a chance to be around you, or and
Mm-hmm.
vice versa. I'm sure he learned so much about you as well
Mm-hmm.
in that process of him being here and you having the chance to just share like your experiences since the last time that y'all had a chance to connect, for that extended period of a time. But you painted so many just like amazing pictures, like something that I noticed about you very early on was how great of a storyteller, because you seem to retain so much of the information and experiences that you've gone through. And it doesn't surprise me because you've gone through so much, and a good amount of what you've shared even here, but you've shared with me off camera, always um, comes from a place of you having been impacted in different ways, and not always negatively, sometimes impacted in a way where it contributed to your growth, to your success,
Mm-hmm.
to your understanding of different concepts such as that of just family, which we talked about. And so I just appreciate you giving your take on how your experience shaped, reshaped, and just help you better understand what family needed to mean for you,
Mm-hmm.
and how you could have power over what that concept looked like, felt like, just in your life journey. And so I appreciate you sharing that. Want to transition a little bit to something that you and I have had the chance to talk about off camera, and I've always appreciated the moments that we've had a chance to dive into this. And I feel it's interconnected within the many stories you've already mentioned, which is that of mental health and masculinity as a man of color.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question that I want to ask to kind of start this segment of the conversation is: mental health is something we don't talk about enough, especially as men of color.
Hmm.
How has your understanding of mental health evolved throughout your life?
Um, it evolved a whole lot, like, cause by working in it, it made me just to understand,
Mm,
like, there's a lot of stuff that people are struggling with and going through, and it's like some forms of mental health is like you're not going to be able to just tell from the outside.
mm-hmm,
Folks will just look like they everything cool and
mm-hmm,
calm and
mm-hmm,
collective, and shoot, if they off their medication and it ain't right, like then you're gonna see that other side.
mm-hmm,
And it's like it tripped me out on just like seeing it and like peeping some things, because then it was like you think about back at some family members or aunts and uncles that you might have met, and you'd be like, damn, I seen somebody do this. I seen
mm-hmm,
somebody do. Oh, so that's what that was.
mm-hmm,
Oh, so that's what they meant by this. And it's like it gave you a better understanding of it. But it's like I look at it as far as like it gave me more of an appreciation of just like thankful for what I have. You know what I'm saying? The
mm,
sanctity that I have with my mind and everything
mm-hmm,
else. And like the not be ungrateful for everything that I already been blessed with. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Because shoot, at any moment, anything could have happened. You know what I'm saying? I had a homeboy, you know what I'm saying? He used to, try all these different drugs and shit, and like somebody ended up giving him a bad batch,
mm-hmm,
and now he just like he's all looking like Smokey in the chicken coop
mm-hmm,
and everything. And it's crazy to see him like that, because it's like dude was like a dope ass baseball player, you know what I'm saying?
mm,
Um, was like a 3.0 average student, and it's like now it's like he can't even sit there and have a conversation with you.
mm,
Can't sit still. You know what I'm saying? He has his bowel movements. He can't control them and everything else. And it's like he just all off. And it's just
yeah,
like it hurts just to watch and see him like that. Cause like I knew him, you know, and it's just crazy. So I
yeah,
think that like we need to just really make sure that we as men be honest.
mm-hmm,
Like when you're going through something, see your
mm-hmm,
therapist. You know what I'm saying? I go to my therapist to talk to a lot of stuff, and find out what are the things that make you tick.
mm-hmm,
What are some things that you find out that can make you snap, you know what I'm saying? Because that helps you out when you get in these relationships
mm-hmm,
to where, you ain't taking it out on somebody else.
mm-hmm,
You know what I'm saying? What childhood traumas that you might
mm-hmm,
have gone through, you know what I'm saying, that are now surfacing over here that you didn't know it's really because of this. And you might be thinking it's because of, what I'm saying, your girl, your kid, your friends, or your job or something. But it's really something over here that you never, what I'm saying, fixed. But once you recognize it and able to fix it, it's going to help out everything else over here. So it's like take that time to really work on yourself
yeah,
and really be real with yourself and understand, like, you know what I'm saying, like talking it out with your boys, you know what I'm saying, and make sure you got the right boys that you're talking
true,
to.
true.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
important.
Because sometimes folks be giving you, you know what I'm saying, bad advice
Mm-hmm,
and everything else. And so it's like you just gotta make sure you handling your P's and Q's and talk, speaking to the right people, and then it's like be honest. You know what I'm saying? Like shit, if you know for a fact you ain't ready to be in these relationships, cut that shit off.
mm-hmm,
You know what I'm saying? If you know for a fact, you know what I'm saying, like that friendship that you have with this person, you know what I'm saying, your homeboy or something that's egging you on and like really pissing you off, like you're gonna have to cut that off. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to keep on building on it and now you're
mm-hmm,
taking it off on somebody else
mm-hmm,
or anything. So it's like I really think that we as men just like we need to get off our own high horse and just really understand like we need to vent and talk about this stuff,
yeah,
and like do not be ashamed to go talk with a therapist
mm-hmm,
for real. Like
mm-hmm,
do not, you know what I'm saying, find you the right one,
mm-hmm,
you know what I'm saying, one that you could really that's going to really educate you on something, give you some material that you could read through, either some books or some paperwork to work through, so you can really work through that. If you got a journal, talk
mm-hmm,
and like bring all that information out. You got to let that shit flow and like and relieve yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because when you just holding it up and it's just pent up and it's just there, it's like it's constantly eating at you. You know what I'm saying? Look at a lot of these cats right now. You know what I'm saying? They be looking old, way before their time.
mm-hmm,
You know what I'm saying? Hair
mm-hmm,
all falling out. You know what I'm saying? And like there's so many different problems that they got going on. And it's like because you're holding in so much drama,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? There's so many problems. You're like, let that shit go,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it's like just try to like work on yourself, you know what I'm saying, and figure out, you know what I'm saying, what's best for you. And then I think that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking a follow-up question, Zach, and I appreciate everything you shared because I'm very much in agreement and alignment with the way that you framed everything and organized just those thoughts around mental health and the importance of it. But my question is, did you at any time like exist in an environment where mental health was talked about? And if not, how did you come to realize the importance of it for you?
Earlier, I didn't know nothing about no mental health.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I started hearing more about it when I was in my group home in Stockton before I got into my foster home. You know what I'm saying? Because we had one kid who he he had Down syndrome. Because I used to always
Mm,
just because I remember watching that one TV show. I forgot what the name of it was called, but it's like seeing the kid, and so then when I saw him, I was like, hey man, you look just like that character off that TV show.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like at that time, I'm not knowing that like that's some disrespectful
Yeah,
stuff that
for
he's
sure.
saying.
You're young at
You know what
that
I'm
point.
saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like it just, I was just like, huh? And they was like telling me like, oh, he has this, and then I started hearing about other cats that have, you know what I'm saying, like Asperger's and you know what I'm saying, and everything
Mm,
else. And so those were the first terms, and then that's the first time I started seeing folks giving out medication, you know what I'm saying, to
mhm.
kids and everything else. Because I was seeing some of them at the group home getting medication. I was like, what is that? What are they getting? And
Yeah.
I was like tripping out. And I was like, you getting all these different Razodam, you know what I'm saying, Seroquel, you know what I'm saying? Like all these different meds. And I'm just like tripping out. And I'm like, what? And so I was just like, okay, you know. And so then they started talking about it. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. So I was like, oh, so folks are different. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when also started like paying attention to like when they start talking about everybody on the short bus and all that other stuff and
Mm,
like the special ed classes and
mhm.
like start understanding like, oh, not because like I used to have some partners that went there, but it was because of behavioral stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like I didn't know that there was other kids because of their mental, you know what I'm saying, mental diseases and everything
Mhm,
that was affecting them to being able to be in a regular class. So
mhm,
I was like, oh, so that's it wasn't until like I said that time that I started finding out about it. And then when I got into my foster home, you know what I'm saying, one of my homeboys that went to the church, his name was Jeffrey, you know, and he had Asperger's, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like just hanging around him, seeing him, and then seeing how his mom interacted with him. It's like she never babied him. You know what I'm saying? It's like she helped him to understand that like, you know, you're gonna be different than everybody else, you know, and but she also taught him how to go about moving through life and everything else. So you were able to hold up a job and do everything
mhm.
you needed to do and all that. And it's like, shit, I'm like, he moving better than cats who just so called normal, if
Mhm,
you would call it,
mhm.
and everything else. And so it's like those different areas just started like making me just understand that I'm like, okay, there is a lot more that I need to learn about and appreciate. And that goes back to earlier, like I was saying, like and being thankful that I am who I am, you
Mhm,
know what I'm saying?
mhm.
And I learned what I learned, but it's like I just always just make sure that like I appreciate everybody. Like I never try to treat nobody differently just because of whatever situation they're in. It's like I take everybody as they are, and it's like if you rock with me, I rock with you. You know what I'm saying, and I keep it pushing that way.
Yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate just you giving insight on those experiences of you learning that different folks have different like mental conditions or circumstances, and just right the honesty that initially you were very unaware, right? It was all new to
Mhm.
you. There was so much learning that took place through you clearly being very observant, very curious, and so I love that your curiosity contributed to this evolution of your understanding of different people's realities, as it pertains to disabilities, abilities, and how you wanted to make sure that moving forward you were taking this approach of like gratitude for what kind of your circumstance is.
Mhm.
Um, The next question that I kind of had, and you already touched on a few of these with your first answer within this mental health segment, and it's that of what practices do you utilize to maintain just like your well-being, your peace, your health, that you would want to share for someone out there who's maybe trying to identify some different approaches in supporting themselves?
Um, I I say I'm a nature boy. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was always like the kid that liked to be outside riding bikes, you know what I'm saying? I knew homeboys that skateboarded and all that other stuff and everything. Just being outside until the street lights came on. You know, it's like um so I used to always ride the bike trails out there in Sac and everything else. But I would just say for me, my whole thing is like I love hiking, you know what I'm saying? I'll take myself out there. I either I'll listen to some music or I won't listen to no music and I just like listening to the birds and you know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Just experience it. That's why I like riding motorcycles. And it's like I like just hearing the wind, you know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? And that air being all up on you and everything else, and you just being one with nature
Yes.
and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's my biggest thing, just going out and just experiencing nature, you know what I'm saying, checking out trees and everything else. I even like going out to the redwoods where they got like some dope ass zip lining and everything else, like experiencing that, like
Mm,
testing that out, like that's hella
mm-hmm.
dope. You know what I'm saying? I got into rock climbing, you know what I'm saying? Even though folks will say like that's a white
I
boy,
knew you were
you know
going
what I'm
there.
saying? Thing. I'm like, hey man,
I
that should be
knew you
fun
were
though.
going
That
there.
should be fun as fuck, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, but it'd be cool. So it's like
Yeah.
all those different things, like I love, and it's like I'd lately been just like going about trying to like go out into other nature stuff, like going to Yosemite National Park. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I want to go hike the Half Dome. I want to go
Yes.
do
You used to
that.
talk to Diane
So
about that one.
yeah, so I want to
Mm-hmm.
go do that. You know what I'm saying? And just experience all these different um, national
Mm-hmm.
treasures
Mm-hmm.
that's out there, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like those are the biggest things. Like shit. Also working out, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Going some runs a
Yeah.
little bit and everything else. You know what I'm saying? Those are all things, just ways of just clearing your head. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Shit, even shit. I even just started getting into some yoga. I would have never thought that
Hmm.
I'll be in some yoga, but I'm like start doing like some hot yoga and all that.
I was
I'm
thinking
like
about hot
you be
yoga.
surprised, man. Like
Yeah.
just stepping out the your comfort zone and
Yes.
trying some different stuff
Yeah.
that you wouldn't even think, and then like you're seeing folks looking at you when you walk into these places, like, what are you doing here? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's just funny, it's just interesting, but it's like you meet some real interesting people, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying, and get to make those connections, talking with them, interacting with them, and everything else. And it's like I said, you're just getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you get so comfortable, like, man, I'm only hanging out with the homies.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I only hang out with these day ones. But sometimes you're gonna have to get these day twos and these
Mm-hmm.
day threes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That might be from somewhere else. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? You got some coworkers you be cool with, and then like you might hang out with them outside. And
Mm-hmm.
you got some coworkers like I just see you when I see you at
It's
work.
at work. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Mm-hmm.
nothing against you, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like, that's just how it is. So it's like just those different experiences and then just trying out those new different things. I think those are the best ways to go about it. Like do not like get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
For real, for real.
Yeah, I love the diversity of different practices that you just shared. So I hope someone out there that you had a
Please.
notepad, wrote all of these things down. And I love the humor that you included within that of the rock climbing and the stereotype around some of these practices. But I think what I most just enjoyed hearing is just like your openness to try different things, right?
Mhm.
Something that I tell students is that at different times in life, a certain self-care practice that has worked in the past might not work in that particular moment. You might
Mhm.
need to find something different for that particular moment in life that maybe you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed,
Mhm.
because whatever you were doing just for one reason or another just isn't meeting the need that in that moment in time is inside of you to be able to overcome or to be able to reach a, a space of peace, of tranquility. And so that is why I think it's so important to just try different things. And you
Mhm.
just shared a list of different things on top of initially sharing that of like journaling, on top of that of you sharing getting mental health through professional spaces such as therapy. And so I just thank you for being open and honest with the different things that you've tried because I know I feel like that tends to be the challenge for a lot of people, is this feeling of I don't know where to start. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what could be a part of self care or mental health, but it can be anything to some extent.
Hmm.
Even as simple as you mentioned, just being out in nature, just being out around some trees, some plants,
Hmm.
getting sunlight, like that in itself. There are plenty of studies that highlight the benefits of that on so many different levels. And so, um, again, I
Yes,
just
and it's good.
appreciate
It's
that.
good to just get out of your neighborhood. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Yes.
Get out of your city. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's like get in some different environment that allows you to see something different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like those different things will, I'm telling you, change your life. Shoot,
Mm-hmm.
travel the world, go out the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because then you'll start really seeing like some of your experiences that you had, or you be like, oh, I'm from the hood,
Mm-hmm.
or oh, this much poverty and everything. And then you go somewhere where there's a lot more poverty, you're
Yeah.
gonna be like, damn,
Yeah. They don't even got
yeah,
shoes. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't have no room to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't never had the experience what this cat
Yeah.
experienced.
Yeah.
So it's like, but that's how you start opening your mind and
Mm-hmm.
changing your perspective up
Mm-hmm.
and everything and being more appreciative. Because a lot of times folks don't even appreciate the stuff that you already have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to stay in the moment and appreciate what you have, the people you have in your circle that are really there for you and genuinely there for you, and like take that time to make sure you tap in with them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Check up on them. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? A lot of times we get into this whole like your own world, like your own, like you your main character
Yeah.
and everything, and we forget about the other folks that we so called say we care about so much.
Yeah.
And then we be like, oh, well, they ain't called me first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't calling them. Nah. You know what I'm saying? Get off that high horse and just
Mm-hmm.
like hit up them. If these are people that you really care about and everything else, hit them up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like all that shit goes a long way because you're going to be mad when they no longer here
Yeah.
and then you can't even call them up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now you're going to be all like, oh, damn, I miss my dog. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
miss my homegirl. I
Mm-hmm.
miss my man. Well, you had the time,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, and you definitely wasn't trying to utilize it.
Yeah.
So take that time because you got time to be doing all this other bullshit. Like take the time to meet up with your people.
Yeah, I think it is definitely important to make sure that we don't take for granted that folks are still here for us to be able to talk to,
Hmm.
express our appreciation for, connect with, while they're here,
Facts.
right? I know, and we don't got to get too deep into this because I want to respect what you've shared with me on a more detailed level, but I know you have definitely shared with me navigating a lot of loss in life,
Hmm.
right? With people that you've cared and loved. And I know recently I have still been in the process of navigating that of the loss of my grandmother, who
Hmm.
was one of the, if not the most significant individuals within my life in contributing to who I came to be. And so, um, let's not wait for someone to be lost for us to be reminded how valuable it is to make the most out of our time while they're here, right?
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I agree with everything you said. And I think it actually transitions really well in asking this next question because within what you were sharing, even especially towards the end of that of not allowing your own pride to get in the way, I think in being able to reach out to people who, for whatever reason might not be tapping in with you as much as we would like. We're still human, right?
Hmm.
So feeling some type of way, I think is still natural and normal. But being able to reach out and reconnect and have those conversations, I feel like takes a level of vulnerability within that moment, that space, that interaction. And so the question is not fully connected to that, but within the concept of vulnerability, I want to ask you as a man, when we think about mental health, I think that's a very important layer of it.
Hmm.
Knowing the importance of being able to be vulnerable
Hmm.
and share, like you said, our honest feelings, thoughts, and emotions about whatever it is that's going on in life.
Hmm.
And so, how have you navigated vulnerability within your experiences, especially again within a society that hasn't always encouraged, more specifically, men of color to
Hmm.
be able to tap into that part of their emotions?
I would say the biggest I would say is like me being open enough to like talk to folks. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like you said, I tapped in with you,
Mm-hmm.
expressed some stuff. You know what I'm saying? And like we were newly getting to know each other. You know what I'm saying? You was my supervisor
Mm-hmm.
and everything, but we was just cool. And it's like the vibe that I got from you was like, you know what I'm saying? This a genuine dude. You know what I'm saying? be honest, I like shit. Fuck it. Let me
Yeah.
just see by opening up. You know what I'm saying? He might be able to give me some good information. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew where you came from the rich and everything
Mm-hmm.
else. So I'm like, I know you've seen some shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I could holler at him. You know what I'm saying? And he would be able to relate and understand some stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like we always be. Sometimes we will be always thinking like, okay, thinking like, oh, it's gonna be different because I'm black, you Latino, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, or somebody white or somebody. I'm like, experiences are experiences.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
still got griefs and losses and you got
Mm-hmm.
things that's going on. So me being open enough to just holler at you, you know what I'm saying, was one piece of me being vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? And me, like I said, going to go get the therapy, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, utilizing what they're saying to go and do and implement, you know what I'm saying, and start putting it out there, you know. So it's like I started reaching out to other folks, talking to them,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? I'll go and post some stuff about some information to try to see. Cause like my pastor used to always tell me, he's like, you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
It's
it's
real.
like, you never know who's taking note of what you might be saying or talking about that just was scared about saying it. But if they see somebody that they respect like yourself, and they be like, okay, all right, I see Zach went through this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, and he's overcoming this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, let me go and talk to somebody too. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's like you never know who you're gonna be a catalyst for
Yep.
to make a change and try to step out on a limb and try something new and do something. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I post a few things up on the gram, even though a lot of folks look at it like, oh, don't put stuff out there because the internet, the way they
Yeah.
do. But it's like it ain't about that. It's about
Yep.
there might be somebody that I know. And it's like, and sometimes I get somebody who hit me and DM me and be like, hey man, you know what, that meme that
Man.
you sent out
Mm-hmm.
or that something that you said up in this, you know, that helped me out a lot. I was able to go do
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
You know, so I was like, all right, damn, okay, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, once again, it goes back to that Bertice Berry quote, you know what I'm saying? Like when you walk with that purpose.
Yeah.
So it's like that's when you start just knowing like what I am doing is the right thing.
Yeah.
Just like you starting this podcast, you know what I'm saying? You don't know how many hearts this is gonna start, you know what I'm saying, helping and helping people heal or
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, be open to talk about things and learn about some new information that on somebody else that you might bring up in here and
Mm-hmm.
talk to, you know what I'm saying, that they might not known about. And it's like those are different ways of just really opening yourself up. And
Yeah.
it's like, and like you said, as far as us men of colors, like just like us being willing, like I said, once again, to be uncomfortable. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times we want to hold all this in. We want to be this like macho and this
Macho.
like
Mm-hmm.
all this super
Mm-hmm.
masculine and like, oh, I can't talk about that. I can't show off my feelings because a lot of times sometimes when you do, you know what I'm saying, it backfire on you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But that's because it was showed off to the wrong people. You
Exactly.
know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't for
Mm-hmm.
them.
It
You know what
wasn't.
I'm saying? But I look at it like, oh, at least I know now that now I could cut you off
Yeah.
and not have you in my life anymore. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, now I could just be like, okay, these are my real solid people who I'm gonna be around, who I can really talk to, you know what I'm saying, network with, build with, you know what I'm saying, and get through any type of, you know what I'm saying, circumstance that I might be dealing with. So I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing.
I love that last part that you really mentioned. Then in life, there's so many concepts this could relate to, but within this of vulnerability, there may be moments where you display vulnerability and it's not received in a
Mm-hmm.
supportive, caring type of way.
Facts.
But that's not because you are vulnerable. It's because those people were not the right people to
Mm-hmm.
be in that moment with you. Unfortunately, my observation, because I'm a super observant person ever since I was young, I used to not talk and just observe, and that's continued to be the case. Now I talk a little bit more. But what I observed is sometimes when people would have those unfortunate experiences, they'd be like, "See, this is why I'm never vulnerable," but not be like, "Oh, see, that's why I got to stop hanging out with these people." Right?
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
like I'm gonna put the blame on the vulnerability that I just shared, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm gonna stop myself from doing that. Versus realizing that that wasn't the problem. That was actually so powerful. It's just like you said, those weren't the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just appreciate you just acknowledging that of this podcast and its intention, because that is my hope. That is my hope that through your story, through the story of Kenya, Santiago, Corey, Alvaro, the stories of Brian, who's a future guest, the story of my LB Mimi, who's a future guest, like that these stories are going to touch the heart of someone out there, right? And all it takes is that one person. And there can be a long period of time where you're not hearing any feedback, any insight, any responses from anybody, but all it takes is that one moment where someone says, yo, that post that you made, like I needed that today. Like you have no clue how much that ideology, that feeling was heavy on me, and you posting about it felt like you were meant to do that for me. And so I also love how you unintentionally just integrated how vulnerability can also be displayed on social media, right? Because that's such a big avenue of expression at this point, of connection at this point, of community. Like we just can't get around it, right? The technological age is here. It's evolving. It's growing every day. And you're right. I think historically people would say, don't share too much about your life. Don't share too much about your life. But again, it's not because we should be worried that we're sharing about our lives. It's just that we know that there's going to be people out there that are going to be judgmental and interpret things in a negative way. But we can't be caring about what those people are thinking or feeling, because there's someone out there whose life you're going to transform and change without you knowing, because you were open to share about your life.
Exactly. You don't see everybody who's making these movies or, you know what I'm saying, or writing these books thing. I'm like, well, there's a lot of people that's gonna be hating the book, but it's like, shit, there's a lot of people that's gonna like that book. You know what I'm saying? So if you keep on going off of just only living your life off of worried about what somebody's gonna be hating on and everything, and I'm like, oh well, I can't do this because they're just gonna be hating. You know what I'm saying? Then you're not really living.
You're not.
You know what I'm saying? Now you got them over here shackled you down and everything. I'm like, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna express what I need to express. It's like, yes, not everything need to be put out there.
For sure.
And I'm not going to put everything out there.
Yeah.
But there's some things that I feel like that's going to be put on my heart that be like, hey, you know what? This is something I need to express. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a reason for it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And hopefully somebody receives it. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, like, I'm always seeing somebody is receiving it very well. You know what I'm saying? And I also look at it another thing that I was like just thinking about. My therapist told me one time. He said sometimes you can be talking to somebody and it's like they might not give you the response that you wanted, or they might pull back or something. But it's like sometimes you might not want to cut them off real quick, because sometimes you might need to analyze what's going on with them. You know what I'm saying? Because you might have triggered something that made them think about something, but they didn't know how to express it, and they're not open enough to really pull it out and tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh damn, this just gave me this memory of something that happened in my childhood or whatever the case or anything. So then it's like now they're dealing with something, but they not talking to nobody. You know, so it's like sometimes that can end up happening too. And I was like, oh damn, I didn't even think about that. How you think about countertransferency and all that. So I'm like, it made me start to analyze a little more and just think about it on some people's reactions.
Yeah. I love that was brought to your attention, because that makes a lot of sense to me, right? I think sometimes when we're sharing our story, we have no clue if the other person listening might have gone through something similar, right? And in that moment, like you said, might have triggered something for them. So their lack of response, or maybe their non-ideal response, has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the fact that in that moment, they're processing, reflecting what all just came up for them in that moment. And so I just appreciate, like, I think what's coming up to mind for me is also knowing the importance of like giving grace to other folks, even if they don't respond in the best way possible, as long as you still have this intuition that they have a place in your life. And perhaps through you triggering that, because I don't think triggers are bad necessarily, maybe one day it's going to inspire them to want to circle back and share with you, like, hey, Zach, remember that conversation we had where you were sharing? Brother, I apologize for not having responded, but I want to share with you what came up for me. And in that moment, you're going to get insight that you would have never gotten had you cut that person off, right? And so I love that you were able to receive that, and then really like ask yourself, how do I apply that, or how do I become more mindful if ever that happens again in future interactions or conversations? Yeah, that's beautiful. Something that you touched on, which I love, because I was like, oh, it's perfect. It's actually the next question, is that when you were mentioning that for men, one of the challenges with mental health, with vulnerability, is that of this internalization that we've experienced of how we're supposed to show up as men, right? I don't know what it was like for you growing up and the messages you heard, but for me, it was things like boys don't cry, like rub some dirt on it, like don't you ever share emotion or show people how you really feel.
Mm-hmm.
Keep a straight face and put a fake smile on you. Like that's how
Yeah.
you're gonna get through the world. And then you even mentioned a Spanish word, which is that of like macho, right? You got to
Mm-hmm.
be macho, like you got to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I wanted to ask you, how did you go about like dismantling that, if you had to, or how would you encourage a young man out there, or even just any man that's still holding on to those beliefs and practices, for them to dismantle that?
I'll just say you got to understand when there's a time
Mm-hmm.
to show that side and to be the
Mm,
tough guy or whatever, and when there's a time when he's like you need to be on a little of the softer side of where as far as
mm,
you don't need to bring all that out. Like that shit don't always have to happen all the time.
mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like shit, there's a reason why you have so many different utensils. You know what I'm saying? And then so many different tools that you utilize. You ain't gonna be doing everything with a fucking hammer. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like no. So it's like as us as guys is like if it's a bar fight or something, okay, yeah, be tough because you
Mm-hmm.
about to get your scrap
Got to
on. You know
protect
what I'm saying?
yourself. Yep.
Yeah, you about to gotta give somebody a 2-piece. You know what I'm saying? But if it's like shit and some disciplinary and stuff, you know, or anything like that, you gotta pay attention to what's going on and like seeing what are you gonna be doing because you need to understand that person, like or is that person able to understand what you're trying to get across to them if you bring this type of energy? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's you taking the time to understand that person more. Just like how you in relationships, you get everybody who's always talk about all these love languages and you know what I'm saying, and all type of other stuff. But it's like you also got to understand how do you interact, how do you talk to a person? You know what I'm saying? How is it like shoot, if I raise my voice and everything, dude, do they have a past history to where they have some trauma of something that
Mm-hmm.
went down to where you know what I'm saying? If some when they heard somebody raising their voice, they was like they having flashbacks to their mama getting their ass beat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or you know what I'm saying? Or them getting whoopings or something by their daddy or stepdad or their mom or whatever. You never know. So it's like you got to take the time to understand there's a time and a place for everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be over here coming all extra hard all the damn time because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're gonna be looking old way before your time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're putting too much stress on yourself and everything, trying to be like that. And it's like then that's when you start having all these problems because now you
Yeah.
over here walking down the street and you over here got this mean mug all up on your face and somebody else seeing you and they got their mean mug
Yep.
and they you thinking that they over here talking about you or they trying to want to do something with you and now you end up getting into an argument and a fight and somebody lose their life. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Over what?
Yeah.
Over nothing because you
Yeah.
holding all this in because you trying to be tough all the time. Like, no, I'm telling you, everything's at a time and place for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shoot, enjoy life. You know what I'm saying? And like take that shield off, you know what I'm saying, and knock down that wall, you know, and it's like be able to really have deep conversations with
Yeah.
folks and like
Yeah.
really get to know people more. So, cause like shit, like they always say, shit, you gonna get more bees with honey than shit.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? So I'm like, that's the best way to go about it. Like, know how to talk to somebody. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Everything can get so much better. You know, I'm like, shoot, you over here. Dudes always want to holler at the girls and everything, but if you over here, hey bitch, woo woo, come here. Yeah, you might get some that like that, but you're gonna get a large majority of the don't want you talking to them like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? You just gotta just learn. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of stuff is like learn behavior from your
Yeah.
neighborhood, your
Mm-hmm.
family and everything
Mm-hmm.
else. And you think like you gotta be this way. I'm telling you, once you start getting on the outside, you start traveling and doing all this other stuff and being in other areas, you'll start to understand like a lot of stuff that you was doing before, that shit don't work everywhere you go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
gives you a lot more drama and a lot more because it's like it's funny because like I find it interesting like so dudes can check themselves when they go to certain hoods
Mm-hmm.
in certain neighborhoods because it's like okay like well I don't got enough of my homies over here and I'm in this hood so I'm gonna be smooth, but it's like you can't check yourself in these other situations.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the deal?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody have their own comfort level and everything, but I'm like, nah, you got like be smooth. The more you can be smooth and control your anger and control your body language, and you know what I'm saying, and calm down all that tough talk bullshit. I'm like telling you, life gets so much better.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing you really just like talk about is this level of self awareness of knowing when and how different elements of your personality can and should show up, right?
Facts.
Depending on the circumstances, the interaction, the conversation, and really being thoughtful with what side of you are displaying in that moment in time. That hopefully isn't causing harm to someone else, and also just as importantly, not causing harm to yourself, right? Because the example you gave, like we're on the same wavelength with how you were just structuring your ideas and the examples you were giving, and my mind was already thinking of that of someone walking around with this really tough bravado and energy that's just going to attract someone else with that same energy, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to create
Mm-hmm.
conflict that would have never been there otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Or having the ability to see that if someone's just not in the right state of mind, like you have the power to exit that space or remove yourself before it escalates and becomes so much more life or death type of situation. Like,
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned a little earlier, growing up where I did in Richmond, like that would happen all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was so unfortunate because it could have been avoided had someone just had a level of self awareness to know, like, yeah, this ain't worth it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to live another day. And
Mm-hmm.
whatever this energy that this person has and I have, like, one of us needs to do something differently. So let me control what I can and let me change this energy that I'm like putting out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then something else that I think you touched on was just the importance of like adaptability, like knowing
Oh.
how to adapt, right? And so just combining those two concepts, I love just how you did that through the examples, and the way that you just would encourage someone to go about, like the way you put it, like put your shield down, like
Mm-hmm.
put your shield down, like you don't got to be in fight or flight mode all the time.
Yeah.
That's not even healthy,
Not
right?
definitely not healthy, you know. And it's like you really got to understand that, and just like just feel how your muscles and everything feel. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just tensed up all the
Yep.
time, and looking around
Mm-hmm.
like what? You know what I'm saying? Like you get folks that accidentally step on your shoe and you want to start a fight over it. Like,
Yeah.
man, he tripped, or
Yeah.
somebody didn't see you. Like,
Yep.
there's so many different things that go into it, and it's like like my grandma used to always say, things you can control, control them. Things you have no control over, let them go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And like, and that's real. It's like some stuff is not like worth it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? To be able to turn it into a big ass problem. Like, so low, everything's gonna be a problem.
Yeah,
Like, are you
yeah,
serious?
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Ah, this food too hot. Ah,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? What?
yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, that don't make no sense.
It's making me think of these concepts that I think are being talked about a lot more, which I'm excited for, and I'm glad that of like emotional regulation, right? And
Facts.
just knowing how to regulate yourself in a way that ultimately will be in your best interest in that moment and also long term. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, no, I appreciate you just kind of again sharing your perspective around just some of those concepts of like toxic masculinity, healthy masculinity, and how there's not like one way to go about it, but at the end of the day, just making sure that you're at least like trying to grow in that area and really deciding like what works for me and those that I care and love that I surround myself with as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think some folks need to learn how to get some DBT skills, like which is
mm,
just dialectical behavior therapy skills. Like that'll be the best thing for them. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? They'll learn a lot of different skills underneath that. If you don't know what it is, look it up, Google it. You know what I'm saying? You'll find a lot of great information up in there on self-regulation. You know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? Wise mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like think before you act. You know,
mm-hmm,
pros and cons. All
mm-hmm.
that type of different things is like, you know what I'm saying, radical acceptance. Like just really go into reading up on that and try it. You know what I'm saying? It'll benefit you long ways.
Yeah. To kind of close out this segment, I really like this question. As someone who creates space for others within your career, but also on a personal level, because you do that so great, how do you or have you held space for men of color who might be struggling with identity, emotions, or expectations placed on them by society, family, wherever it is that they're at?
I try to just like let them know like you're not gonna have all the answers. You know what I'm saying? You
Mm,
don't have to take on all that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we sometimes coming out of areas like we came out of, you have survivor's remorse. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Sometimes you might have imposter syndrome. You know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? And it's like you gotta be the savior. You know what I'm saying? Like, how am I gonna save everybody if I'm not even taking care of myself? Like, that's like when they talk about the cup runneth over. You know what I'm saying? You gotta fill your own cup first, and everything that runs off from it, you know what I'm saying, is what you could give out to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and if you're not taking the time to heal yourself, you know what I'm saying, understand yourself, get yourself at the place that you need to be, how are you going to be able to take on anybody else?
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you also got to realize at some point, you know what I'm saying, unless these are like little kids or something, like when it comes to a lot of these adults, like they gotta take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like they grown just like you grown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they gotta pay their own bills. You shouldn't be over here cashing out for them and taking care of everything they gotta do. You know what I'm saying? And like, and don't let nobody try to hit you with oh, well, I gave you this when you was younger, or I took you over here for this trip, and try to guilt trip you into some stuff. And it's like, nah, like, because you already know, I already bet you have already done enough stuff 10 times over on whatever they did for you. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? But they keep on bringing up some old stuff and everything else. So my main thing is just like, take care of yourself, really understand what you need, really focus in on where you want to be in life, what you want to achieve. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you're taking care of your relationship that you in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Really take the time to just like figure out some things that you could do to self-soothe, and you know what I'm saying, and take care of yourself. Like I said, like shit, I like the rock climbing and I like
Mm-hmm.
the hiking. Find whatever your niche is. If shit, your shit might be cooking. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? You might be up in there, Chef Boyardee. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? You might be into plants or something. You over here
Yeah.
got a green thumb. You know what I'm saying? You might be into construction and you just like, or you like building stuff. Shoot, you
Yeah.
might be making whole Lego sets or making stuff out of wood. Whatever it is, find your niche.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that will help you out so much more. And then also find your community. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Find your community base of the people that you could rock with and you could talk to. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna have your group of your males that you could talk to, and you're gonna have your group of your women that you could talk to. You know what I'm saying? And it's like find your community. So then that way it's going to benefit you a lot more in the long run. So you can have these people that you can interact with, have some fun with, you know what I'm saying, socialize with, go on trips with, do all these different things. But first and foremost, you just got to just work on yourself
Yeah.
and just figure out what is it that you want and what you want to achieve in life. And that's the biggest piece. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't even know who you are and what you want, how how is anybody else going to know?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Man, I could say so many things on the different elements that you just contributed within your response, which was so powerful, so beautiful, so poetic in so many ways. But I think what comes to mind for me when thinking about how we support young people is really just helping them understand the importance of that journey they're going to be on and the process that it requires to reach a higher level of self discovery,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Facts.
And a part of that self discovery also looks like knowing how to create healthy boundaries and healthy space from people who are not contributing to that self discovery. As you were
Mm-hmm.
mentioning, sometimes we have people within our families or just people we've grown up around who we feel indebted to for different reasons, not necessarily having our best interests in mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily encouraging us to be explorative with what we want to do in life, to be able to then make meaning of our day to day, week to week, year to year. Because I feel like once you have clarity, like then you're just moving, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
moving in a way that is with purpose. You're moving
Mm-hmm.
in a way with like motivation, inspiration. It
Mm-hmm.
starts to feel like you're invincible,
Yeah,
right?
facts.
And it is such a beautiful, powerful feeling to exist within. But it can only come after doing a deep dive into who you are, where you've been, where you want to
Mm-hmm.
go,
Mm-hmm.
and how do you start making those moves from where you're at right
Mm-hmm.
here and now.
And it can kind of scare you a little bit
It
because, like
can
I
though.
said, like you were saying, things could be just running smooth. You're like, what the hell? What's going on here? I'm like, damn, this is
Yeah,
moving.
yeah.
I'm like, I remember those times when I used to like trip out, and I'm like, damn, I got this job, I
Uh-huh.
got this job, I got this job, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, and in my head I was thinking like, man, I don't think I'm qualified. I was looking at everything they be looking for, but it's like. But I'm like, yes, I have something that I could bring.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like I said before, like if you staying in your purpose and you handling your business and you've been working on yourself, it's like when you go into those interviews, you do good with the interviews,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you work at the job, you do good at the job. So then they be like, man, I'm glad I hired that person. And it's like, but everything just flows because you took the time to make sure you worked on yourself and you doing what you need to do to handle the business. I remember when I went to grad school. Like when I was an undergrad, I didn't take undergrad as serious as I did grad school. So when I was there, I was just partying, having a good time, woo, woo. And so I thought that grad school, because it's like, shit, you got to have a 3.0 at all time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, hell nah. I ain't going to do good at this. So when I went to grad school with my boy, you know what I'm saying, and everything else, it's like I started taking the time of just really focusing in on my studies, make sure I put those hours in, you know what I'm saying, read the material, way beforehand, didn't procrastinate until the last minute. You know what I'm saying? I was even reading chapters ahead that I saw in the syllabus, you know what I'm saying, and going over it. And then like when it did come to that subject matter, I'm already asking the teacher questions, you know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, we haven't got over that yet. But I just got a question that's in my head. I got to just get it out. You know what I'm saying? And next thing you know, it's like, shit, I got the best grades I ever got in my whole life. And it's like, and I'm on a much higher level. And I was like, damn, if I would have just utilized this same when I was in undergrad, I'm like, it could have even been much better for me. And I'm like, but it's like, you live, you learn, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, you constantly working on yourself. And so that's one of the things, like I was saying earlier, just take the time to really figure out what you want in life. And I'm telling you, it's going to get smoother. Like you got a long life ahead of you. You know what I'm saying? It's like we too busy on this microwave mentality. We want something to happen now. We want it popping off. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, take your time. Shit, why you think diamonds are so expensive? Because that's time under pressure. You know what I'm saying? And then boom, you make that diamond. You know what I'm saying? Like shit, anything else, you're gonna get a cubic zirconia. You know what I'm saying? That shit gonna break real easy once it gets under a certain amount of pressure and everything. So what do you want to be? You want to be a cubic zirconia or you want to be a diamond?
Yeah, no, man. You and I are definitely cut from the same cloth as how we just think about a lot of these experiences, a lot of the way that we support, just like the young men, just students in general, that we get a chance to give insight and wisdom to. We never fully know to what extent they internalize it and they put it into action. But I think as an educator, at least speaking for myself, and I know this is true for you as well, we just want to make sure that we can look in the mirror and feel like we gave the students all the insight, all the wisdom, all the stories, so that if it doesn't work out, they can't say, well, I didn't know, because
I told you.
Like I made sure that I talked your ear off a few times, right, in an attempt to really be able to help guide you. It's so interesting because so many of the things that you said, I could dive so much deeper into, because as you know, having gone from the director role, I'm now back to working directly with students. And some of the things that you said, even from like the microwave mentality, like all of that just resonates so much with some of the conversations I've been having with students, some of the conversations that we're having like within our foundation. And more specifically, a conversation that I just had at 2:00 today with this really young male who has a good head on his shoulders, but is feeling as if though he's behind. He's like, I'm getting old, Dr. Martinez. Like, how old are you? He said, I'm 21. I was like, you trying to trade? Like, he said, right? He said, I'm 21. I was like, okay, well, tell me more about what you're feeling at this age that's making you feel like you're not on the right path, because from my point of view, you're exactly where you need to be. And he was like, well, I've seen, people my age already have houses, have nice cars, have this. And I'm like, look, if you know these people like the back of your hand and they really got it going like that, yo, shout out to them. Like, that's an anomaly. I was like, but more often than not, people will only show you what they want you to see.
Facts.
Right? And what you might not know is, yes, they have all these things, but at what cost? Right? What are they sacrificing? What stresses are they carrying because they're trying to live a lifestyle that they might not even be able to sustainably afford, right, long term? And so what I told them, and this kind of resonates so much with a lot of what we're talking about, is what I would encourage him to focus on is just self-discovery, self-growth, because the money's going to come.
Yeah,
like, the money's going to come, right? And I told him that something else I wish that I knew when I was his age, because I made a few mistakes myself, was that the materialistic items, yes, they look good, you know what I mean? Of course, I get it. They come with some symbolism of success. But what it also comes with that a lot of people don't talk about is this attraction of people that only want to be around you because you have these
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
But say tomorrow you lose it, all those same people that you thought
Nope,
were there,
gone.
nowhere to be seen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we were just talking about a lot of that, and he seemed to really be just like listening. And I think that's all you and I try to do is make sure that we just give them every side of the coin,
Mm-hmm.
right? The front side, the back side, the different angles, you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So that they can then do with that information what they think is best for
Mm-hmm.
themselves going forward.
Another one that I want to say with what you all talking about, folks forget, like, you don't know also who they have in their family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody might have just passed. They got some life insurance money.
Yep.
Their parents already had something. They might have had something in
Mm-hmm.
a trust. Like, it's so many different things that go in.
Yeah.
Somebody might have scammed some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a plethora of things to look at. And it's
Yeah.
like, until you know what that person did, you know what I'm saying, to get to where they are, you know what I'm saying, don't don't be over here trying to be mad because you're not in their same shoes.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes back to when I was talking about, like, figure out what you want to be doing. Like, because you're saying the money's gonna come.
Yeah.
So if you over here handling your business and say you're young and say you don't want to go to college,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm gonna go into a trade.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Take your time to learn this trade,
Yep.
go up into it, you know what I'm saying? Stack your bread up, sacrifice. So a lot of times folks don't want to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because, like, be like, okay, instead of me getting these new J's or me over here going to get these designer outfits and going on these trips, I'm gonna be in grind mode for the next 2 years, and I'm just stacking up all my
Mm-hmm.
chips. I'm
Mm-hmm.
only doing the bare minimum of whatever I need to be doing. I guarantee you, after that time, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna have a nice amount of bread stacked up to where you can go and use that as your down payment if you say you want to get that condo, that
Yep.
house, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. You know what I'm saying? You want to go get that whip, that Hellcat,
Yep.
whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
that your thing, that jewelry, you know what I'm saying, or whatever it is. But you know what I'm saying, you'll understand it. You know what I'm saying? You understand what it took you to get
Yes.
there. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? You put a plan together,
Yep.
and it's like, and that's going to teach you to, like, okay, how can I make more? And
Yeah.
it's like, once you start learning how you already learned how to do it off your own blood, sweat, and tears,
Yep.
then start making sure you reading up on how to make that money make you some money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Make it work
Because
for
that's the
you.
real ticket. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because when you could be over here asleep, knocked out, and your money making money, you winning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you got to sit down, read up on some of these books, get you a mentor that can educate you on this stuff, and start trying to learn it. Don't just be sitting here just going around, just trying to move around and just be free and like not understanding. Like, no, take the time to learn from somebody who's doing something that you want to be like that you see has a life that you want to have.
Yeah.
Talk to them, holler at them, be like, hey
Mm-hmm.
man, you teach me. I want to live like you. I want to be like you. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Because I'm guaranteed you started off early while you young and you getting that compound interest and you know what I'm saying, you compounding all that knowledge in your head. I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee by the time you get my age, you gonna be
Man.
way better than me, way better than your aunt, uncle,
Yeah.
anybody else. You're gonna be over here balling, doing your thing,
Yeah.
and everything else. And please, y'all youngsters, stop trying to say y'all old so young.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you got a
You
long
do.
life ahead of you.
Yeah, check it out, Fry. This is what I did with him right before our meeting ended. I was like, look, I'm going to ask you a real interesting question. Entertain me for a bit. I said, you're 21. How long do you want to live until, right? I was like, if you had to choose a number, you had control over it. That includes good health, includes a loving family, includes, financial stability, and you were able to live out the career and the dreams that you wanted. How long do you want to live? He said, I think at max 100, right? I was like, all right, so you're 21 right now. So we're talking about you want to live another 79 years. I
Mhm.
was like, so don't expedite this process that you're in right now or try to rush through it to the point that you're gonna find yourself looking back wishing you would have took more time,
Mhm.
right? Because as with most things, like whether it's within art, whether it's within music, like when you take your time to make something,
Mhm.
right? Like you will create something so beautiful, something that felt thoughtful and represents that of what
Mhm.
you wanted to create
Mhm.
versus speaking for myself, whenever I try to rush through something, it ain't coming out great, right? I'll even
Mhm.
give you a very specific example. When I'm trying to make breakfast and I'm making eggs and I'm in a rush and I'm trying to flip that egg, the yolk pops. And I'm like,
Mhm.
damn, man, like
Mhm.
that's not the egg I wanted, right?
Mhm.
Where then there's other times I've taken my time, cooks really well, flip the egg, and I'm like, damn, I need to take my time more often. Because
Mhm.
now I'm about to eat the egg that I really wanted to eat for breakfast, right?
Mhm.
So even within
Mhm.
simple things like that, you
Mhm.
see the value of trust in the process, having a healthy level of patience, not complacency, but patience
Mhm.
within that of creating whatever it is that you're trying to create for yourself.
No, that's real talk, man.
Yeah.
For real. I look at it like I learned a lot when I started growing my locks out. And it's like taught me a lot about patience, you know what I'm
Mm,
saying, understanding and like going through that ugly phase and you know what I'm saying, like it not locking up yet and
mm.
you know what I'm saying? You got like, oh damn, the loctician out of town. I can't go get a retwist. You know what I'm saying? Damn, my barber, he's sick. I
Yeah.
can't go get a cut. You know what I'm saying? And like it just taught me like patience. It taught me that like it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, if it's looking a little fucked up right now,
Yeah.
is it stopping you from anything that you gotta do? Is it gonna stop you from making your money?
No.
You know, is it gonna stop you from your friends hanging out with you? Are they gonna be like, oh shit, nigga, well, shit, nigga, you twist me. I can't hang out with you. No, you know what I'm saying? Is it gonna stop me if I
Yeah.
go to the store and I'm gonna go buy something? Is it still gonna say like, hey, we can't
You
sell it to
can't go.
you?
Yeah.
You don't got a fresh retwist? Like,
Yeah.
no. So I just started understanding like I was putting too much up on a lot of nothing,
Yeah.
you know, and so it's like it made me appreciate it a lot more,
Hmm.
made
That
me
part
slow
too.
down a
Hmm.
lot more, and it's like, man, all this shit is for the birds
Yeah.
and everything else was gravy. And like, and I really look at it as like a blessing. And now I'm like, hey, and that's why I've been still growing it for the last 4 years and keeping it going because it's like it was something that helped me out a lot, especially with all these losses that I had, like going
Mm.
through so many family members that were like my cornerstones and my foundation. You know what I'm saying? Losing my mom, you know, my foster sister, you know what I'm saying, my frat, you know what I'm saying? Losing my aunt, my uncle, my pastor's wife, like
Mm.
my uncle, other uncle, you know what I'm saying? Like it was just like a trip to just see all that shit. You know what I'm saying? And it just taking so much of a toll on me and everything. And I was so angry. I was just
Mm.
holding so much in. And it's like I just had to let's let it go. And it's like, you know what? There must have been a reason that God took them,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? And they're in a much better place
Mhm.
now and
Mhm.
everything. And it's like I appreciate everything that they taught me.
Mhm.
And that's all I try to do now is like I try to just go back, close my head, my eyes and just think back on everything that they taught me, you know what I'm saying? And appreciate every little memory that I do have of them. And then just try to move on that way and it's like so much better. You
Yeah.
know, and not stressing off over everything. Cause like, hey, you never know when that day is gonna be called.
Yeah.
I don't know when my day is gonna be called.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And shit, my nieces, nephews, god kids are gonna be feeling a certain type of way when I'm gone. But I need to make sure that I'm there for them.
Mhm.
I'm teaching them more things so they can have all these memories and everything else, and keep it going from there.
Yeah, I appreciate just you sharing the specifics of the different loved ones and influential figures that you had to accept are no longer here, right? What I will say is shout out to all of those individuals, as although I did not get a chance to meet them directly, I have a chance to meet them through you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'd imagine a lot of the love, the nurture, the lessons, the wisdom, maybe even the scolding that they might have, had you
Mm-hmm.
experience. That all has just contributed to you being who you are. And, I said this in the beginning, and I'd say it a million times if ever needed. You're one of the more incredible individuals I've had the chance to meet. It's why, having you as a guest was something I was looking forward to. I'd even go as far as saying a little nervous because I felt like, man, like I know Zach and I know each other from different spaces, but creating a space where I get a chance to just really dive into his stories, his journey in this intentional way. I was like, I want to make sure that it's done well, right? That
Mm-hmm.
it does, that it's done with like the justice that it deserves because of how inspiring I just find you to be and how supportive you've been in my life too. During this time period that we've known each other. Forgive me if I'm incorrect, but I mean Zach and I at most have at this point have known each other directly for maybe 2 years, maybe a year, and like maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's some change of
Mm-hmm.
almost 2 years.
Yep.
So it hasn't been
That long.
a long time, but what we have both been really intentional at is making sure that our interactions have always been meaningful,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And so I just appreciate, even as you were just kind of sharing the different roles of folks that really played a role in contributing to you to who you are. That felt really special to listen to because I'm like, dang, all those people definitely played a really big role in this amazing man, this amazing brother of mine that I'm just so thankful to have in my life. And so I just wanted to share that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. To transition a bit, Zach, man, because what I'm realizing is you and I could be here for a 4 hour podcast, man, and that maybe will lead to a part two of us having to come back, just so that we can create an episode that's digestible out there. At least from my experience, I'm kind of just sharing some raw thoughts here. More often than not, the realities in today's day and age, asking everybody to watch a 1 hour podcast video is a long time. And
Hmm.
if anything, what I hope is that as we save some of the questions that I have here for another episode, that there's some excitement